Heather Slusser here with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. Today I am joined with Joy Kirkpatrick from the Center for Dairy Profitability, who is going to speak with us about her fact sheet entitled Pandemic Unemployment Assistance in Wisconsin. What does it mean for farmers? What is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program?
The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is specifically for people who are not usually eligible for that regular unemployment insurance. For example, people who are self-employed or independent contractors. So this is something that's being funded through the federal government and from the CARES Act, specifically for the pandemic, for people who may have lost work.
Who is eligible for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program?
That's the interesting question that when we first started hearing about the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, we thought this was going to be something that would be fairly helpful for farmers because they have been affected by COVID because their markets may have been lost. Some people not being able to sell all of their milk to their processors. Livestock producers may not have a place to take their finished livestock for processing. But then what we found out is that it's very specifically in the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance frequently asked questions. There is a question that asks if I'm a farmer and the only effect that they are suffering from COVID is the loss of profits, are they eligible? And those that FAQ specifically says that is not a reason that farmers are eligible in Wisconsin. However, farmers may be eligible if they can show that they either they've been physically ill from COVID-19 and not been able to work, someone in their household has been ill and they've been having to care for them and they've not been able to work, or if they are caring for children who normally would be at school or some other sort of care facility that's been closed, and they're losing work time because of caring for either a sick family member from COVID or their children. They're caring for their children that would normally be in school. Now, those aren't an exhaustive list of scenarios, but they're on the Department of Workforce Development. They have all of the different scenarios that may make you eligible for this Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So I would encourage people to go to the Department of Workforce Development website, look for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA, and look for those scenarios. So it's definitely going to, you're going to have to do some justification of how you've lost work. Maybe you've not been able to get in the field as quickly as you would have because of these reasons. There would be some justification in that way.
How do farmers apply for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program?
First of all, a farmer who's considering applying, they need to first create an account, and they would go to the Department of Workforce Development, and there's a place where you can start an account, and you would need your social security number, your Wisconsin driver's license number, and then some other information about either if you have had any employment in the past 18 months, you need to have information about those employers, and then you need some proof of wage or your most recent tax year, like your proof of income. Farmers should also be prepared to answer number of acres, number of acres in CRP, number of livestock sold due to COVID, and number of cows being milked. So you'll have to have some specific information in that way to be able to put that application in. Now, I do want to point out that if you did not make a profit in 2019, that does not necessarily make you ineligible, but you would get the minimum of the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which is $163 per week. But there's also the additional funding of $600 per week that is from the federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation, and that's available until the last week of July. But you first have to apply and then also be proven to be eligible before you can count on that income coming in. So once you've applied, you also have to send in some information with documenting your income. Some other questions that you might need to be prepared for that I wanted to point out is that, again, some of these questions may be difficult to answer as a farmer because this PUA is a new program during the pandemic, specifically for self-employed people, while the unemployment insurance application is designed for workers or employees who have lost jobs or lost work hours. So as a result, some of the questions may not fit self-employed people or farmers exactly, but you have to answer them to the best of your ability. And some of these questions may include, have you returned to work? And that's a yes or no question. What were your normal hours worked before the COVID-19 pandemic? And now what are your normal hours working at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic? And did this pandemic prevent you from performing all the duties in connection with your operation or the business? And some of these are yes or no questions. Some of them you have to put the numbers in. And then, have you been performing or been able to perform any services in restoring your business since becoming unemployed? Yes or no? Were there any livestock, dairy, or crop planting operations affected, and an explanation of how those were affected? So these are going to be questions that you are going to have to answer to the best of your ability and as truthfully as possible to show that you have lost work or haven't been able to get all of your work done due to the pandemic. You'll have to send in within 21 days of your application your 2019 tax return and including your Schedule F profit or loss from farming, or if you're in a business entity where it's Schedule K information that comes out to you for your income, you would have to share that.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about this program?
We're not exactly sure, like once you get the application in and let's say that you are eligible, they deem you eligible, then the reporting part, the weekly reporting that you do, while the information that you sent in to apply was your 2019 income tax information, when you have to report every week, that's when you start having to submit your weekly claims and you have to report gross income in the week in which you receive the pay. And then the other thing that you self-employed farmers may also have to consider reporting is any subsidy or price support payments that you start getting or you do get, any crop insurance and farm disaster relief payments, not including your unemployment assistance. So keeping in mind that the information that you need to report every week may be very different than the amount or the type of information that you had to provide to the application process.
Thank you for being with us today, Joy, and sharing information about the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program.